It's time and we have a quorum. Let's get started. This is a special meeting of the panel. We've invited residents, representatives and other deputations to come to give their views on the Northeast New Territories Landfill Extension, Southeast New Territories Landfill Extension, West New Territories Landfill Extension, and the Integrated Waste Management Facilities Phase 1. We have forwarded to you paper number CB1931/13-14 (01) is provided by the administration. There's also paper number CB1951/13-14 (03). That's the updated background brief prepared by the Legislative Council Secretariat. There's also IN06/13-14 is an information note on integrated waste management facilities in Hong Kong prepared by the Legislative Secretariat. Now, there are over 100 deputations coming here, and more actually have indicated their interest to come and speak. So on the 8th of March, there's another meeting to receive deputations. Actually, it's the 28th of March, rather. We've already passed the deadline for registering for the 28th of March meeting, so we see how things go. Maybe we will also deal with the motion proposed by Mr. Gary Fang at the last meeting. Unless we really run out of time, then we will call a special meeting on the 1st of April. Otherwise, we'll try to deal with everything at the 28th of March meeting. So that's the arrangement for the time being. Now, can we invite the deputations in, please? And also the administration, of course. Attending the meeting today from the administration, we have Mr. Wong Kam Sing, Secretary, Mr. Howard Chen, Deputy Director of Environmental Protection, Dr. Alan Chen, Assistant Director, and Mr. Alphys Au, also Assistant Director of Environmental Protection. Now we have 146 deputations coming today, so there are 5 sessions. Members, can I ask for your cooperation and stay here to listen to the views of residents and deputations. The first session is from 9:30 to 11 a.m. Then there's a short break of 10 minutes, and then from 11:10 to 12:45. The lunch break is 1 hour and 15 minutes up to 2 o'clock, and then next session is from 2 to 3:30. Again, there will be a 10-minute break, and then from 3:40 to 5:40, 10-minute break, and then from 5:20 rather. So from 5:20 to 6:30, that's the last session. The earlier session is from 3:40 to 5:10, followed by a 10-minute break. Thank you, residents and deputations, scholars and professionals for coming to the meeting. Before I invite you to speak, may I just remind you there's a microphone in front of you. You don't need to speak right into the microphone because the microphone is rather sensitive. And we also have simultaneous interpretation service. There is an earpiece here for tuning in to 0, that's floor, 1 is Cantonese, and 2 is English. You will each have 3 minutes to speak. When the time is up, there will be a bell to remind you. And after 3 minutes, please stop speaking because we have over 140 people going to speak here. So if you take up too much time, that means those behind you won't get enough time to speak. So please do watch the time limit. And if I may also remind you, your speech is not covered or protected by the Legislative Council Powers and Privileges Ordinance. For those in the public gallery, please note the various security measures. The Secretariat has written to you, and that letter is tabled. So for those in the public gallery, you may also ask for a copy of the relevant information from our security guards.
Thank you for coming to the hearing, and thank you for your coming to us to share the good practices and insight and your experience in real life on the expansion of the landfill area and the incineration, the construction plan. Please note that since there are the 146 deputations that will appear in the meeting today, so we have to limit your time to 3 minutes, which is very short. I apologize for that, but which is necessary. And please be reminded that when time's up, there will be a signal to signify it, and please stop delivering your speech because every extension of time for each individual would mean the deduction of time for the delegation later today, that they might not have the opportunity to voice their opinion. So please help us to conduct the meeting effectively. There is an earpiece on every booth. If you need simultaneous interpretation, please tune to channel 1 for Cantonese and channel 2 for English. And please be reminded that your speech in this meeting will not be covered by the Power and Privilege Ordinance of the Legislative Council. So let's start. 第一位講者係李桂。
First, Mr. Spencer Lee. Good morning. I represent the Community and Construction Professionals Development Center. We are a green group promoting harmony and green practices. And main objective is to promote social harmony. We support the government's proposal about the free landfills and the incineration. Why? Because in Japan, Scandinavian countries, they have advanced incineration technology. The facility is usually next to residential development or parks, so they are able to do that even in these areas. And the government has done many studies and visits. I think the government should set down a long-term policy for waste reduction and recycling. But of course, in terms of technology, they have to explain to the public what the pros and cons are. On cost control is also important. If there is delay in the implementation of these initiatives, that will affect the general taxpayers because the cost would pile up day by day. We propose a tripartite option involving the government, businesses, and the public. So all the stakeholders should be involved in taking this forward. Now, there are a lot of development projects, infrastructural projects, site developing, Lantau Island, and so on. In the construction sector, we have contractors, principal contractors, subcontractors, and so on. They all rigorously trained, so they will deal with waste effectively. On construction waste, or construction materials, they try to use green materials and odorless materials. Actually, we do send waste back to the mainland, but that is expensive. In the long run, in the construction industry, all stakeholders should work together to design a training program so that effective measures could be put in place, because all policies must involve the collaboration of the government and the people. Now, for the general public, they will be affected by environmental pollution, of course. We see that in certain places there is a strong voice. Now, we can't ignore the voice. But can the government effectively monitor the implementation, and can they be held accountable to the public? We need a long-term policy. It's not just about consultation, but rather at every stage you have to report progress and the achievements. On waste reduction, we hope we could emission reduction, we hope we could achieve the target by 2020. We see a lot of projects have cost overrun. I think the government should explain that as well. Next, Mr. Ho Kwan Yew from Pt1 Rural Committee. Yes, Mr. Ho. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad to have this opportunity to meet with you. I represent the chairman of the Pt1 Rural Committee. I would like to give our position on this government's proposal. We are against it, the free landfills and the once incineration package. Now, because this package is bundled, it's not like what the Secretary has said, that this package could then immediately address the crisis of us being surrounded by waste. Because it will take at least 8 years, earliest 2022, before the incinerator is built. Now, the government's saying that we should first start with expanding landfills, but I think we should do more at source. We must have the determination to do something. That's why I'm in support of the 3 hours policy of the government. Why is it that we're against the free landfill one incinerator approach? This incinerator. Mr. Lee said we should learn from Japan, but in Japan, the incinerator, there is a sunset technology. Yes, incineration is the mainstream option now around the world. But the more stupid is the three-step approach, and the even more stupid approach is landfill. And then now, incineration is not good because it generates a lot of dioxins. Now, it doesn't matter how advanced the technology is, how much filtering there is, we can never completely resolve the problem. Now, our standard is even worse than that of the European standard. But we should only consider technology with lower emission of dioxin. We have to consider our younger generations. I came back from Beijing yesterday. There they talked about the fog issue. When I was there, the sky was clear, but perhaps it was just mere luck. But in Hong Kong, we have to seize upon the opportunity in dealing with waste. If we use landfills and incineration, that's waste resources. Every day we're talking about burning 3,000 tons of waste. And here, all around the world, we're talking about reducing carbon dioxide emission. But then we want to burn 3,000 tons of waste, and we say that we should use less coal for electricity generation. Rather, we should buy cleaner electricity from the mainland. So how do we do it? Waste to energy. That's the plasma gasification technology. It's cheap, it's good. It's better than the government spending some $44 billion now. It's much cheaper, perhaps 1/4 of the cost. It's all a matter of determination. Now, I read from the news that for all government projects, there will be a cost overrun of at least 30%. So that's why we're against this free landfill one incinerator approach. Next, Ms. Kwong Wai Kun. I'm an indigenous resident from Cheung Chau. I'm against the free landfill one incinerator approach. The government has spent billions of dollars And the government has also encouraged the car owners to switch to Euro 5 vehicles to reduce emission and so on. But now Mr. Wong Kam-sing is asking for some $20 billion from the LegCo to build the most polluting waste management facilities. I don't think it's just as an incinerator. It's not a fancy name like that. It's just that it's burning waste, and it's going to create even more waste, super waste even. Now, Wong Kam-sing said that Shek Koo Chow would be the answer. It's about spreading pollution evenly across the territory. If that's your principle, you should stop. Forget about the emission reduction measures. You could save money, and that's also policy consistency. Now, waste would never be concentrated in just one spot in Hong Kong, and power generation is not concentrated in one spot in Hong Kong. And the earlier phase of Euro standard vehicles would be phased out eventually in any case. Now, you say that dioxin generated from incineration would be a bit less than that of fireworks display. I wonder if you've watched fireworks display on Victoria Harbour. I don't think I can stand it. But the fireworks only last about 10 minutes. But here we're talking about us facing this dioxin danger 365 days a week. And then there will be odor problem. There will be so. I don't think anyone would put up with burning of 3,000 tons of waste every day somewhere near them. Now, when the government sees the puffins showing in the waters, they will stop works. Those dolphins and puffins, they are very smart. They will, of course, swim away when their work's there. But what I'm worried is that their habitat will be completely destroyed, and these mammals will leave the area forever. Now, don't think we are stupid. And you just treat us as unreasonable people. You don't treat us as someone reasonable who just care about fishing. And you said that you can provide another warm, heated swimming pool because you're going to use waste to energy approach to heat up the pool. So is that all it's about? Are you just building another white elephant? I don't know that if you're aware, on Shek Koo Chow, there's no one living there. There is no scheduled ferry service. It's not an open island. It's an isolated island. Whereas Cheung Chau is favorite spot for people to go to during weekends, but you want to wipe that out. So I think you are not actually caring about environmental protection here. Next, Mr. Chen Chi-ping from Cheung Chau Recycling Society. Mr. Ao, Assistant Director, Mr. Office Ao, Assistant, kept selling the program to us. He told us this incinerator, there's zero emission, zero pollution, is also the latest technology that exceeds the Euro standard. That's the second point. The third point, say, because there's very infrequently southwesterly wind, so there's not going to be a problem. And then there's 800 degrees of combustion, and it's the moving crate technology. But I think that's all nonsense. It's all a lie. If it's truly zero pollution and zero emission, then what's the problem if there's going to be southwesterly winds every day? And every time Mr. Ao changes what he says, 800 degrees becomes 850 degrees, 4 seconds become 2 seconds. For Cheung Chau residents, we can tell you in summer, most of the time it's southwesterly wind. Now, what is a joke is that Mr. Wong Kam-sing is the last round of fake consultation. He's actually exposed the truth for us. He said that the incinerator would certainly be a polluting source, but he's not willing to accept new incineration technology because he says that such technology is not mature. But then it doesn't mean, if you're using the technology, shouldn't it supposed to be mature? And my question for Mr. Wong is this: can they guarantee that the incinerator they promote will never fail? On Euro standard, the EPD has never told us, in terms of the site selection, monitoring, and so on, if you adopt the latest Euro standard. You know, this Euro standard is attached great importance in Europe. All countries must rigorously follow that standard. If this incinerator is going to be produced by the European Union, then What if the standard is not achieved? Would you say that this Euro standard is only for reference only? That means there will be no legal basis to go by? Now, I hope you won't just bring in imported technology and interfere with SAR operation. Now, the government is hijacking public opinion. We must thank the few representatives of Changchao, because when it's time for them to stand up against it, they will, yes, they may speak, but when it's time to vote, they will vote gladly in favor of it. And Changchao residents are indignant about that. We would say that there's nothing we can do about such measures.
Dr. Yam Hian Pong, Chairman. Many people gave views about the 1 incinerator, 3 landfills. I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. First, can this solution solve the overall waste problem in Hong Kong? Secondly, when the government is given money, will they do what they ought to do? And number 3, what is the objective behind their remarks? First of all, is the solution comprehensive? Concerning waste management, waste has to be collected, sorted, transported to the landfills. But in the past 7 years, the Bureau spent a few 10 million to examine the possibility of incineration. But then incineration is only the last step of waste management. But what about waste collection, sorting, transportation? The Bureau hasn't given any views. 2 years ago, this package was turned down because of this reason. So conclusion is that this is not a comprehensive solution. If you give the Bureau money, will they do it? Now there are 16,000 recycling bins, but every year only 700 tons are collected. So the ratio is 0.02%. It's useless. But does the Bureau pay any attention to improve the situation? Now there are 159 waste gathering stations, and such stations are the first gate to deal with the waste. Did the Bureau ask the consultants to improve the operation by means of technology? Did they give you any report? Is there any recommendation to the Environment Food Bureau for better coordination? No. Will they do it in the future? So the conclusion is you cannot really trust the Bureau. Today, so many deputations are speaking on this item. Chairman, you have heard many supporters from the business sector and those related to the infrastructure and construction companies. Besides, some of them are closely related to the government. You have heard many doctors and professors supporting the proposal, but then they haven't done any study on incineration or ionized management. So they are just cheerleaders for the government. They are doing so because of business benefits. Incineration and landfills cannot solve the problem fundamentally. If this proposal is approved, then surely more incinerators and landfills would be built in the future, and so it is going to be a tragedy in the future. Thank you. Next, Mr. Raymond Koh, City and Environmental Planning Alliance for Hong Kong. In March last year, this proposal was discussed. Up till now, our society is still discussing and debating. And last year, concerning Chang Kwan O landfill, well, the government is still presenting the same solution. First, is there a chicken first or egg first? In Japan, the incineration technology is such that the incinerator has been placed near to residential dwelling for half a year, and nobody has noticed. But this is done stealthily. It has operated for a long time. Now, the Hong Kong incineration technology hasn't achieved any breakthrough. The reason is waste reduction at source has not been effective. And so that's the reason for public objection. The major reason behind the failure is because of weak civic consciousness. LCSD placed a number of waste collection bins in different parts of Hong Kong. The results are disappointing. The brown bin collects ordinary waste, and then the paper container of drinks will be placed in a certain bin. For glasses, we don't know where they should be put. I think members of the public don't even understand the basic concept. So how can we target the problem at source? Contracted cleansing companies don't understand the purpose of these recycling bins. So how can we have confidence in the recycling industry? Last year, I represented the concerned group on recycling, and I used the collection of horse waste as an example. The government had made a mistake. They haven't corrected the wrong civic conception. So how can we have a better waste reduction at source? About building incinerator, well, surely it must be built, in my personal opinion, and the more the better. But first of all, we should modify all the landfills. Even though the Changquan old incinerator or landfill plant has been scrapped, the effect is not big because the landfill pressure is placed then on the other two strategic landfills, so the problem can't be solved. From the perspective of the Japanese technology, if the incinerator can be placed next to your home and you still won't notice it, then there is value in building this kind of incinerators. Unfortunately, in the government's paper, we cannot see this technology. So I would propose to the government. Thank you, Mr. Ko. Next, Hong Kong Project Management Exchange Center Limited, Mr. Fan Yingming. Thank you, Chairman. Under the producer responsibility scheme, the wholesalers, retailers, importers, and consumers should bear the environmental protection responsibility together, so i.e. collection, recycling, and proper management of the waste. In 2010, the EPD did the consultation on producer responsibility scheme for electrical appliances, but it has not been completed. Now, consumers can just dispose of these scrapped or broken electrical appliances anywhere. But then in the computer circuit, there is lead and mercury that is hazardous to people's health. And if it is subject to strong sunlight, there will be heavy metal leakage and damage to the environment. Every year, there's 70,000 tons of such waste, and there is a growth of 2% every year. And once every few years, the business sector replaces their computers. So as a result, there are a lot of waste electronic products and electrical appliances. So the producer responsibility scheme should not be delayed further. Now, if you talk about the mobile waste collectors and also many recovery and recycling stores, they also take part in the scheme of recovering electrical appliances. So in Hong Kong, if you talk about such recovery channels, the degree of penetration in the community is high and narrow. And it is very efficient and low remission recycling channel. When we introduce producer responsibility scheme, we hope that in Hong Kong there will be a good handling system for such electrical appliances so that all the materials can be dismantled and dealt with. For the recovering facilities, they should be incorporated into the environmental protection industry. For recovery and recycling technology, I think if you look at the Japanese overall chain and their advanced technology, well, we should take reference from their practice. If the producer responsibility scheme can be implemented, then every year there will be 30,000 tons of broken electrical appliances to be dealt with. But now, the capacity is only 250 tons. So I think the scale of the related recovery and recycling centers should be expanded. According to Euro experience, the cost per ton is 4,000, including transportation and delivery, $13,000 per ton. So if we are to deal with 30,000 tons, then the cost will be over 400 million. Next, from Civic Party, Mr. Kenneth Tong. Thank you, Chairman. We're of the view that if the Bureau wants to solve the environmental problem by 1 incinerator and 3 landfills, we have reservations. Now, when Mr. C.Y. Leung stood for election, he said that waste reduction was important. First of all, waste reduction and then incineration, and then he would also like to encourage recovery. However, in terms of waste reduction at source, so far we haven't seen much effect. The Bureau now introduces this back-end handling technology or strategy. I think this is contrary to what Mr. Leung said. In 2005, there was the municipal solid waste management outline. And at that time, it was said that in 2007 to 2009, on 6 products, including electronic products, car tires, shopping bags, packaging materials, drink container, and batteries, the goal is to have producer responsibility scheme. It's now 2014. Well, there is only the plastic bag levy. For the other items, so far we haven't met the standard. Under the municipal solid waste outline and also the Hong Kong resources blueprint, many points are made, but they are only repetitions of points stated in the past. Because they're of the view that landfill and incineration can deal with the problem. So why is it that we have to put in so much effort to do recycling, recovery and recycling? So it is not possible to rectify the situation. Besides, the government wants to inject fund or build a fund with $1 billion, but the details of the fund are not known yet, and the cost of this proposal is $36 billion. And we are talking about the final end technology, but then no emphasis is made on recovering and recycling, so this is really not acceptable. The government earlier on accepted the producer responsibility scheme. So we hope that for the 6 products that should be incorporated in the producer responsibility scheme, the initiatives should be completed as soon as possible. Mr. Chen Kin Kan, French Chamber of Commerce. Good morning, Chairman and members. We are concerned about waste problem here in Hong Kong. We should understand the facts and to find out the order. What are the facts? 1, the volume of waste keeps on increasing. Number 2, there is no proper channel and treatment of the waste. Number 3, because of different reasons, many facilities and policies are not implemented. Number 4, in large-scale waste disposal facility, it has to go through a very long process of consultation, study, EIA, discussion in the council, approval, pre-approval, evaluation, tendering, build, and so on. So the whole process will take 5 years or 10 years. Waste disposal is not magic. In the world, there is not one city with zero waste. Basically, we are talking about waste reduction at source, recovery of resources, waste into heat, and so on. Waste reduction at source means that we have to transform the public. We have to rely on education and facilities. For recovery of resources, recovery and recycling, this relies on supporting facilities. How can we have a sustainable environment? And then about waste to heat, it depends on building, and the budget has to be approved. We need also good quality management. As a simple conclusion, in 2013, the government promulgated the blueprints, and recently the government made a plan. The direction is correct. We support all the policies and supporting facilities. But the important point is, well, all these are indispensable and they should be implemented in a comprehensive way, and they should be implemented as soon as possible. We think that problems among different departments can be dealt with, and we hope that the government will implement the policies as soon as possible. We hope that councillors can forget about their disagreement and political burden. Councillors should relay people's views to the government. At the same time, councillors should explain things to the public on behalf of the government. Finally, given this urgent situation, the government is now proposing the 3+1 proposal. It is reasonable, and it is just inevitable because of the time constraints. I hope that all the rules and policies can be implemented as soon as possible. For example, the municipal solid waste charges and also the polluter pays policy. I still have 9 more seconds. The French Chamber of Commerce doesn't represent private interests. We have over 1,100 members. Our members are businesses as well as individuals. Thank you. Greeners Action, Mr. Angus Hall. Chairman, members, good morning. Greeners Action has talked about this problem of waste many times for many years. Now the difficulty is that in society, some members of the districts have doubts in the government's waste reduction work. Now, this is a very difficult situation. We do want to move forward. Now, the public doesn't trust the government's waste reduction work. Concerning the 3+1 proposal, the government must do a better job of waste reduction to regain public confidence. We don't want to argue further. We don't want to see a standstill. We want to achieve a win-win situation. Leung Chun-ying some time ago said that comprehensive waste reduction social campaign should be launched, but so far, green groups haven't seen this at all. Today, Mr. Wong is here. I think Leung Chun-ying and the Bureau Director should take up this responsibility. The whole government and all the departments have not been working well together. So starting from Leung Chun-ying, I think the government should work harder on this. Yesterday, the 4 major green groups held a press conference. Our topic is 6 major solutions to protect the environment. And so we have put forth 6 points or 6 requests. We hope that in 2016, the government would have implemented the municipal solid waste charges, and then in 2020, the target of 40% must be achieved. And then there should be a clear timetable. In 2018, more and more producer responsibility schemes should be implemented on plastic, drink containers, car tires, wood, and so on and so forth. The construction material landfill charges should be reviewed. Waste that haven't been separated should not be placed at the final end facilities. And then there should also be the recovery fund. Before 2018, waste food or food remains from business sector should not be placed at the final end facilities. In 2020, this should be extended to cover domestic food waste. And then there should be a review of the blueprint. They should apply to the LegCo to expand landfill in phases. Thank you. Next, Mr. Ivan Ko from Construction Industry Council. Thank you.
The Council would like to support the option proposed by the government. However, we also urge the government to take note of 2 points. First of all, in terms of transition of the plan, according to the existing contracts of the government, it already states that there are different dump sites. So hopefully during the transitional period, you would pay more close attention to the details of the contract. Secondly, concerning the changes made to the landfill facilities, are they sufficient to process the C&D waste? The Council is already making preparation work to deal with C&D waste. For example, the construction industry is now considering some advanced technologies to reduce waste at source. We have provided some models to see how we can improve the planning stage. At the same time, we are also proposing options to reduce the production of construction waste. We have also commissioned some consultants to carry out studies so that we can see waste plus concrete can be used so that we can produce other concrete products. Another reason for us to support 5146DR, together with the ITC LSCM, we are doing some research and development work. So that we can monitor the dump trunk, so that we can better manage illegal dumping problems. 5164DR option will help us better manage this problem of illegal dumping. Friends of the Earth, Ms. Yang Hai-shan. Thank you, Madam Chair. Together with Greeners Action, we have conducted a trial scheme of fee charging for waste in a private housing estate. Many local residents asked us, is the government really dedicated to waste reduction? If we do separate the waste and then they end up in the landfills, and perhaps some plastic bottles will end up in the landfills in the future. Actually, compared to Mr. Yao, Mr. Wong is more dedicated. For example, you have launched a number of blueprints and also the food waste blueprint. You are more responsible. But sometimes the government put on some performances. For example, Mr. Lam is leading the steering committee on waste recycling. And then the 1 billion fund is not operating very well. Sometimes sorted waste ends up in the landfill. So are you determined? And is the rest of the government also determined like you? In fact, in the past, the government has launched a number of blueprints to deal with waste problems, but many undertakings were never realized. We understand that we need some facilities in the community to deal with waste that is not recyclable. But in terms of priority, we need to focus on reduction at source. At the same time, we understand the lack of dedication of the previous administrations has led to many problems, and they cannot be resolved overnight. So, do we only accept the fact that we will be surrounded by waste? Or is the government pushing down everything that has been established in the past? It is not a zero-sum game. We need to see the dedication of the government, together with other green organizations, including Greens Action. We have proposed 6 measures for the government. We just want you to take one more step forward and tell the public that you are determined in waste reduction. You are not saying that with these incineration facilities, all the waste problems will be solved. So we have passed the responsibility to you, and we will see how you tackle this. Mr. Lo Tat-Loi from Range Educational Center Environment Concern Group. I'm a resident of Changchao. I'm here to say no to the construction of the incineration facility. The SAR government should first provide full support to sorting waste at source, including food waste and recyclables, then we will be able to reduce the amount of recyclable waste from going to the landfill, so that we can reduce the mass in the landfill and also reduce the odor problem to the nearby residents. The SAR government, however, has not been very proactive. Actually, they have responded very slowly. Concerning food waste, our recycling of food waste on Cheung is very successful. But we heard that half of that is also ending in the landfill, which is all total waste. Other than landfills, we must identify other options that are viable in dealing with waste problems. Other than expanding the 3 landfills, the government is talking about the establishment of an incinerator. Why don't we use the most advanced plasma technologies? Many people believe that the government officials who are responsible for waste management are very wise and experienced. But their insistence leads to the feeling among the public that there are some hidden secrets in the government. Perhaps the government has already signed some secret contracts with some contractors to build the incinerator. And what about the reclamation projects? Some people have noticed that some works have already started. The Secretary, in order to promote the incinerator option, is more inclined towards talking about subsidies offered to residents. They talk about using such incinerator facilities, and surrounding that there will be an education center and a warm water pool. So I would like to ask you, Shekuchao is actually a restricted area. Would members of the public spend 2 to 3 hours of traveling time to swim there? Why don't you construct a swimming pool in Kowloon Park so that it is more convenient to more members of the public? If the government insists on building this incinerator, those who support, including government officials, will become sinners for Hong Kong. Mr. Kwok Chuk-kin from Cheung Chau Kai Fong Society. Chairman, members, I support the 1 incinerator, 3 landfill option, but I object to the government's abuse in terms of constructing garbage bins and also expansion of the landfills. I think we need to focus more on waste reduction, and in Shekuchao, we need to construct facilities or incinerator that is up to Euro standards. We need to do something to the existing landfills. We must act right away and charge fees related to waste production. And then we need to construct more waste management facilities. We may focus on waste reduction, and in a few years, the reduction level will be 40%. What about the remaining 60%? How are you going to handle it? Perhaps the landfills will be exhausted by then. So are we going to dump our waste at other people's footsteps? I suggest that members with conscience should support the construction of green waste management facilities, the incinerator in Shekuchao, and then near it there should be air quality monitoring facility. During incineration, if pollutants exceed a certain limit, members of the public can require shutting down of the incinerator. And at the same time, nearby there should be a swimming pool provided to the public with warm water and also massaging features. The waste from this project should be used for reclamation, and then on top of the land, we can construct more public housing for the public, and at the same time we can reduce the pressure on landfills. Professor Bernard Lim from Hong Kong Institute of Urban Design. Thank you, Madam Chair. We are talking about waste management, and we support the government's homework. I think I would like to talk about the integrated waste management facilities. I think the government can give more thoughts to environmental integration. I don't want to call it incinerator because the concept is an integrated system. It is about recycling waste so that we can turn waste into energy. It is going to provide something positive to benefit the community. So it is an integrated waste management facility. We support further perfection of this facility. And we need to do more homework in this area. First of all, in terms of technology, we need to continue to enhance the technology. Around the world, there are some standards, and we are able to reduce or minimize the impacts on the environment, but a lot more can be done. In other countries, we can see some good examples. For example, visual impacts of the facility. How does it blend in with the environment? We have seen a lot of innovative practices around the world for such integrated facilities. Some of them have actually become attraction sites. That is not the key, but perhaps we can do something so that we can erect really outstanding facilities for Hong Kong. Secondly, we need concerted efforts involving different departments. We see representatives from the APD and also the Bureau. Your area of concern is very relevant. But what we need today is integrated and comprehensive city planning. We also need to focus on use of technologies, education, and innovation. So I urge the administration and Legislative Council to enhance the level of stakeholder participation so that in terms of design, construction, and operation of the facility, things will be made more open. Once the government receives the funding, how are you going to move on to the tendering exercise so that we can involve local stakeholders and also external designers so that we can provide a truly positive outcome?
Bunker, please.
Thank you, Chairman. EPD is a department with a very poor track record. One only has to consider the years wasted on a useless car engine idling ban whilst our environment has got progressively worse. EPD has been told many times before to set up a proper sustainable waste policy involving waste reduction, sorting and recycling and proper disposal. This they have failed to do, and they merely keep coming up with the same old idea of landfill expansion and huge polluting mass burn incinerators. EPD has repeatedly refused to look at alternatives and modern technology. This is incompetence. There are better solutions available. The site alternatives and the different approach by the IMAG group, for example, and the plasma and gasification solutions by the New Territories Concern group, and yet EPD refuses to listen. Again, to continue blindly down the burn and bury policy is incompetence. EPD has for years faked the recycling numbers, making recycling performance look better by including re-exports of recyclables without subtracting the imports. This was exposed in early February, but they haven't changed their direction, they just prefer to ignore it. This is incompetence which verges on dishonesty. And the whole idea of a mass burn incinerator on Sek Kwu Chau is fundamentally dishonest. Consider EPD's two statements. These incinerators do not pollute, and the incinerator must be built as far as possible from centres of population. One of these statements must be a lie. There were untruths in the environmental impact assessment for Pt1. For example, the prevalence of winds blowing towards Hong Kong was misstated. But if incinerators don't pollute, wind direction is irrelevant. Or are we being lied to again here? So we have here a department with a proven record of incompetence which verges on dishonesty, and they must be told that Hong Kong expects and deserves a better and professional approach to waste management. EPD should not be allowed the easy option of using taxpayer billions on a quick and easy continuation of their old failed policy. Moreover, since they cannot even get their own figures right, they are not to be trusted with billions of taxpayer dollars. I would remind members of the city of Harrisburg in Pennsylvania in the USA, where the city actually went bankrupt over cost underestimates for the city's incinerator. As a world city, Hong Kong deserves a world-class waste management policy, and continuing blindly with EPD's failed policy will not do.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis Preston, please.
I'm a South Lantau resident, and I'd like to know about Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the Waste Management Plan. Phase 1, the proposed incinerator on Pt1, can only handle 30% of Hong Kong's waste, leaving 8,000 tonnes a day still going to landfill for at least another 8 years. EPD has just recently announced that it's going to prepare a master plan for Hong Kong's waste management facilities. Shouldn't this have been done before making proposals for Phase 1? It brings to my mind the absurdity of taking you, the legislators, on a study tour of European technologies after they had asked you to approve their technology choice. Is this new strategic study another sham, and in fact a second incinerator is already planned for the ash lagoons in Sang Soi in Tuen Mun, and a third incinerator is already planned for another reclaimed island? Will Phases 2 and 3 also take 24 years to bring to implementation and become operational, and put unacceptable pressure on landfills in the meantime? How can we have confidence in EPD's planning abilities if they're only now thinking about conducting a strategic master plan? After all, 2 years ago, when you were faced with these same proposals, you, our panel, concluded that more effort is required for a comprehensive and holistic approach in waste reduction that involves reduction, separation and recycling, with incineration as a last resort. But another 2 years have now been wasted, and yet again you're being asked to approve the same deeply significant and irreversible measures that will permanently blight Hong Kong, without even being given the benefit of seeing how they fit into a strategic master plan. The people of Hong Kong deserve much better, and they deserve far more consideration and transparency. So EPD, tell us your plans for Phase 2 and Phase 3 before asking us to accept Phase 1. The residents of South Lantau, Chung Chau and the whole of Hong Kong can no longer trust you. We're depending on you, the legislators, who we have elected to protect our environment.
Thank you. 跟住係30位黃振。
Next, the 30S group, Mr. Alex Wong. Thank you. Now, we do need to increase the number of waste management facilities where there are no other feasible options. Landfill extension seems to be the only way out. But then in terms of long-term waste management, actually the extension of the landfill should be the last resort. Waste to energy, incineration and so on, they should be given higher priorities. If you look around the world, Hong Kong, in dealing with municipal waste, our situation is a bit more complex. We have little land per capita, and municipal waste produced per capita is not less so. Now, in the past few decades, we've relied too much on landfill for dealing with waste, and we do not have other incineration or other waste management facilities. That's why we have this dispute now. We understand, though, the government is taking a multi-pronged approach to tackle municipal waste. And there's also the 2020 to 2030 action blueprint. But then this waste facilities being proposed will only come into operation in 2019, and it could only handle about 3,000 tons of municipal waste. Now, even if the government is able to achieve its waste reduction target, by 2017 in Hong Kong, we still have to handle about 10,000 tons of waste every day. Now, the landfill extension is highly controversial. We don't want to aggravate that controversy. So for the integrated waste management facilities, phase 1, it should go ahead. But in the medium to long term, the government could also explore other options to speed up the building of the IWMF. Perhaps you could bring in private capital. There could be privately run facilities. You could invite tenders around the world to build the state-of-the-art incineration facilities. And also with our neighbor, Guangdong province government, perhaps we could consider whether there is a possibility of jointly developing a major landfill site somewhere. Now, we believe we should make use of resources effectively. And to achieve that, it's better to bring in the private sector, so there could be public-private collaboration, and a synergy could be achieved. Now, if the government is just to monitor rather than to operate waste facilities, that would be better. For the proposed phase 1 facilities, that will help us to build experience and provide the data for future development. Thank you. Next, Ms. Sarah Choi, Business Environment Council. Thank you. We have always advocated sustainable waste management. Some of our members have business in this sector, so this is our overall response to the proposal, but it may not be in line with the views of individual members. For municipal solid waste, volume is going up, but then waste recycling is on the decline. That's not desirable. That's why we support policies that will help sustainable reuse of materials. We should try to reduce waste as far as possible. For the 2014 policy address, we've made a submission. We want to achieve the waste reduction target by 2020, and the government should also put in place all the long-term measures and initiatives spelled out in the 2020 to 2030 action blueprint. For expected waste volume and surplus capacity of landfills, we have done an analysis. Our analysis shows that if we do not extend the landfill, but as soon as the landfills will be saturated by 2017, that's actually 2 years sooner than what the government has mentioned. So there is indeed a crisis. So landfill extension is the only short-term and real solution. For the free landfill facilities, we believe extending them would be the only near-term solution to crisis involving waste. Now, we may do a lot in reducing waste and so on, but still by 2017 we still have to handle 10,000 tons of waste a day, and then the free landfills would approach saturation. So there's urgency in dealing with the waste issue. That's why we must press ahead with the integrated waste management facilities. Now, of course, we should always provide suitable environmental infrastructural facilities in a timely manner. Integrated waste management facility is one of the key aspects of the action blueprint. We have, as I said, we have done a forecast, a projection of the surplus capacity of landfills. That's why we support building waste management facilities as soon as possible. Thank you. Next, Mr. Basil Wei, the Hong Kong Electronic Industries Association. Thank you. from 2009, we have arranged visits to Japan, Korea, Europe to learn about their recycling facilities, the latest waste management technology, and so on. We've also put forward our views on behalf of the sector on such matters to the government. We support integrated waste management facilities to deal with the saturation of a landfill. Now, we've given a written submission. I'd just like to add a few more points. We support incineration technology being proposed by the government because that would meet the capacity, that would meet the needs in terms of the capacity of the Phase 1 facilities. And with stringent Euro standards, we believe this is suitable facilities. And then there will be waste heat that could be turned into energy, and any surplus energy could also be connected to the power grid. That's why this technology is adopted in many other countries. In Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea, apart from waste recycling, they also attach importance to waste to energy transfer. And this is something we could refer to in Hong Kong by way of experience. Now, we want to relieve the pressure on the landfill. We could also look at the practices in other countries or cities. They turn incineration facilities into visit destinations, so an education for education purpose, so people would know more about recycling and so on. So if we have incinerator in Hong Kong, it actually takes up less land than other waste management facilities. And incineration will reduce the volume of waste by 90 to 95%. It's critical in Hong Kong because we have shortage of land. Now, we want to support the development of green industries and recycling industries. From the point of view of sustainable development, definitely such facilities would benefit Hong Kong. Hong Kong is an advanced city. We should have incineration as soon as possible, because the more we delay it, the higher the cost. We're actually helping different industries develop, in particular the green industry. So in conclusion, our association will continue to give our assistance in terms of technology and so on. Thank you.
Chairman, I'm a professional pilot with a degree in aviation and business management. I am against the current EPD's proposal. May I first start by saying congratulations to the legislators that are here, as you are part of the reason why Hong Kong is such a great place to live. I'm here to convince you that there are better ways to keep Hong Kong brilliant with respect to waste and landfill. The incinerator is flawed. You will hear the reasons from others, but simply the incinerator is flawed because it will require landfill extension. It will emit toxins. It won't solve the waste problem and will only add to it. Let's look at gasification. It is a proven technology. It can handle waste better, and no waste processed goes to landfill, or does it emit toxins. It can also be used to back mine the existing landfills. Europe is the basis that the EPD conceived its plan. However, Europe has changed its view. It's moving away from incineration and is going towards gasification. I refer to the paper titled Waste by the European Environmental Bureau. Waste is now viewed as a resource and it needs to be managed. It can produce 16% of total European future transport fuel costs. It can make 300,000 new jobs by 2030. This is their future. No more incineration, just gasification, biofuel and sustainable waste industry. Now let's look at Salina Fuels. This company can use gasification. They put forth a proposal to the EPD. That proposal was ignored. There will be no residual pollutants that need to go to landfill. The proposal, if started by 2016, can be up and running before the original timeframe the EPD's proposal put forth, but at considerably less cost. But the most amazing thing is Salina can make biofuel from our municipal solid waste. Salina can sell the biofuel to either aviation or marine companies. This will ensure that this plant can reduce tipping fees by up to 50% and can be self-sufficient and profitable by selling its product of biofuel to Hong Kong's largest airline, which is very interested in this alternative to pricey fossil fuels. Finally, as a professional pilot, there is a saying, If that saying is heard, it means you're about to make a fatal mistake. This saying is the last chance a crew will have to make it known that the captain is not listening to the concerns of the crew. That statement is, Captain, you must listen. The Assistant Director and the Secretary of the EPD is not listening to their peers, LegCo or the citizens of Hong Kong, and is persistent on pressing ahead with this flawed integrated waste management facility, especially the incinerator. To that, I have no choice but to say, Assistant Director and Secretary of the EPD, you must listen. Thank you for your time. I know I don't need to insist that LegCo members must listen, as you have proven that you will make the best decision with respect to Hong Kong and its people. Thank you.
下一位係陳顯忠先生，請。
Thank you, Chairman. A holistic approach to waste management has been
Mr. John Chen.
Hong Kong, which incorporates waste avoidance, waste recovery, waste treatment, and expansion of the landfills. But what a holistic approach it is without a minimal waste lifestyle. In Hong Kong, our current rate of life, to say the least, is not environmental friendly. All the statistics are pointing to a wasteful style of living. Our food waste and the quantity of construction waste that are dumped in our precious landfills are horrendous, not to mention the furniture, the sofas, the beddings and the like that end up again in our precious landfills. Has the government had ever tried to build a culture of minimal waste style of living? I'm afraid my answer is a definite no, which may not be the perception of the Environment Bureau, but it is indeed the view of many Hong Kong residents. If every one of us reduces our daily waste of 1.2 kilogram per capita by half, the total daily waste disposal will be reduced by 4,500 tons, which is 1.5 incinerator on the drawing board of the administration. I recall that I viewed on the TV that our Secretary for the Environment, Mr. Wong, finished all his food on the plate. I also read on the newspapers that he slept in a humid summer's night without turning on the air conditioner. I urge everyone who makes written submissions and are presenting himself or herself in these public hearing sessions to model on Mr. Wong so as to contribute to our initiative by deeds and not only by words. Before I end my submission, may I suggest the duck test. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck and not otherwise. Honourable members, please think twice before you vote for the funding of the expansion of landfills, because it will not be conducive to building a culture of minimal waste, but vice versa. The Environment Bureau, during and after the last public hearing, promised to make various improvements, but none of which has materialized. The landfills are still haunting residents. Your votes to bring down the landfills funding will certainly win the support of residents. Thank you.
多謝你，下一位係李愛玲女士，請。
你好。
Next, Ms. Appy Lee. Thank you. On page 21 of the government's document, there's an Annex A. It says here for a surplus capacity of existing landfill for sand landfill. Surplus capacity, only 7 million cubic meters left. And this is only up to end of 2012. We are now in 2014. Does it mean that there is even less capacity remaining for the sand landfill? Now, in any case, the sand landfill is expected to be exhausted by 2015. How come now at this critical juncture you want to extend the landfill? There are 400,000 people living in Tseung Kwan O. If you just count the school population alone, there are over 90 schools there. So can you put up with a landfill that's so close to an area where there's a rapid growth of the population? Why do you still want to keep the landfill here? Why wouldn't the government consider other locations or options in dealing with waste? In the same spot, you keep extending the landfill and health of the residents suffers, air quality suffers, transportation suffers. And in terms of recycling and sorting waste, the government hasn't done anything. The government is incompetent. Here in this paper, every page we read, it causes us pain. In the paper, page 6 in the Chinese version, there's mention of refuse collection vehicles, how they deal with. They say there is enhanced monitoring. The Hong Kong Police Force, Food and Environmental Hygiene Department and Environmental Protection Department takes joint enforcement actions. What have they done? In 2013, August to December, they have prosecuted about 228 vehicles. So divided by 5 months, there's about 56 prosecutions per month. And divided by 30 days per month, that means every day there are less than 2 prosecutions. They can't even do that. It's something so straightforward. Thank you. Next, Mr. Ringo Yu, Hong Kong Construction Association. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair. The association always asked the building sector to reduce waste. That is and then by 2020 we should reduce construction waste by 30%. We've also called on the government to come up with a comprehensive scheme in reducing waste. The government came up with the 2013 to 2022 action blueprint last year. It already includes a comprehensive waste reduction and management strategy. For the 3 landfill and 1 incinerator, we support it. We support other green infrastructure projects as well. Now, for the 3 landfills, latest by 2019, they would reach saturation. So we can't wait further for new waste management facilities. The community should put our overall interest first, and we should work together to resolve this crisis. After the sand landfill is extended, we will only receive odorless construction waste that will help reduce substantially the odor nuisance on residents in the area. And then by the integrate, and then when the sludge treatment facility is completed, sludge with odor would not be sent to that sand landfill. That will further reduce the odor problem. And then there will be another 10 million of tons of construction waste that will go to Guangdong and Taishan for farming land. Actually, this waste could stay in Hong Kong. It could be used for reclamation and other land formation works. It will save on transportation costs and other costs. We visited the Tokyo incineration facilities. The incinerators right next to hospital and schools. They do a great job in managing waste, and emissions meet relevant standards. In Europe, incinerators could meet the most stringent environmental standards and safety standards. They are as well run as power plants. We believe in Hong Kong we could have equally well managed incinerators. The Environment Bureau's proposal is actually taking into account all the needs in Hong Kong in handling construction waste and municipal waste. It's also addressed the concerns of different parties. We believe this is a balanced and practical solution. We will work together with the government so that there will be proper management of the projects. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Zhou Ng, Hong Kong Environmental Industry Association. The Honourable Ms. Sit Ho, members. I'm the Vice President of Hong Kong Environmental Industry Association. My name is Zhou Ng. I would like to express some views on behalf of our association. We're established in the year 2000, and in recent years we communicated closely with various business groups. First of all, we would like to say that number one, our association concerning the 3 strategic landfill expansion proposal and also phase 1 of the integrated waste management facility, we are in support. The government should start the integrated waste management phase 1 preparation work as soon as possible. Some time ago, there was the judicial review. As a result, the project has been delayed for 2 years. According to the EPD's estimate, the whole preparation work needs 7 years. So in other words, it could only be completed by 2021 the earliest. If there is further delay, the 3 strategic landfills will be saturated in 2020, and at that time Hong Kong will be in a totally passive situation. We suggest that the incinerator can be integrated into the community so that the public would find it more acceptable. We have participated in a number of fora and meetings on waste to heat technology. So we support that Hong Kong should take up this advanced technology. And also emerging technologies that are becoming mature can also be considered. In Taiwan, in the Pt1 incinerator, it's the first facility with a revolving restaurant. Besides waste separation and also producer responsibility scheme is indispensable. First of all, we have to reduce waste at source, and we have to do more with waste segregation and recovery. So in 2014, the CE in his policy address announced a 1 billion recovery fund to promote the sustainable development of recycling industry. Number 4, concerning the emissions and also wastewater from the incinerator, there should be more control and management. Residual electricity should also be made good use of. No matter whether we are talking about incineration and recycling, we need a lot of experts. In Hong Kong, there is a lack of such expert training. Turnover of experts has resulted in a gap in the industrial chain. So it is not possible for this industry to grow properly. We propose that the government should work more with the university and also professional institutes. Thank you. Next, Dr. Chang Wing Kin from Environmental Contractors Management Association. We have 6 points to make, Chairman. We support waste reduction at source, segregation, recycling, producer responsibility, and domestic waste levy. The government should also do more to educate the public. Concerning the sludge treatment center and also the food waste management center and center for dealing with electrical appliances or waste electrical appliances, I think we support these schemes. I think the government should allay public concerns by responding positively to the green groups. Waste reduction at source is important, but then the final end management is indispensable. There are successful schemes about waste to heat incineration facility in other countries. Hong Kong does have the financial capability to build this kind of integrated waste management center to turn waste into energy so as to minimize environmental impact as long as the government's governance is effective. Before this integrated facility is completed, landfill will be the solution, and the stable ash from incineration can also be handled. Hong Kong public should bear the responsibility of waste management together. So I think the 3 site selections can meet the principle of joint shouldering of the burden. The expansion of landfill has not been realized, and we are worried. Practitioners in the industry are worried about the future. The business sector is also not sure about making further investments. So in conclusion, we support this 3+1 proposal. The government has undertaken to implement this solid waste management blueprint so that our city can be sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'd also like to thank the legislators that have come along this morning to support and listen to the session. Let me say from the outset that I fully understand the problem and the dilemma faced by Mr. Wong and his team. I listened with interest to the presentation that he made to the last session of the Environment panel. And I could feel the pressure that he is under, because clearly within 6 years landfill starts to run out. That's the point that you made several times. So I understand that, and I also sympathise, because to a large extent some of this has been inherited to him and his present team. But clearly I think the current plan won't work in the medium to long term. It's flawed, as many people here have also stated. I think Hong Kong as a leading world city should really, especially one that has limited land for landfill and that type of solution, clearly it should be up there amongst the best in the world in terms of its recycling figures. It should be aiming for 50% or higher. As has been mentioned earlier on, the figures that were produced recently have been absolutely debunked. I'd like to call upon legislators to insist that there is now a full, comprehensive and independently audited report on exactly where Hong Kong stands on recycling. My sense, and from the comment I've seen from experts, is that if we could get that up and above 50%, we would really alleviate the problems that we're currently facing. I also feel that from the presentation that was made last month here in LegCo, that we haven't got answers as to exactly what percentage of waste the proposed incinerator would put back into landfill. I think the stated figure is about 30%. It's not clear to me whether that's by weight or volume, and I don't think we've yet had fully detailed, independently audited answers. So I'd like legislators to insist upon that as well. On air quality, Hong Kong clearly is trying to put air quality as a priority and to keep Hong Kong attractive both to its residents and to visitors. Putting a dioxin and particulate belching plant over on Shek Kwu Chau, to me, just doesn't make sense. Dioxins, levels of dioxins, Mr. Wong stated as being safe. But I think everybody would realise that there's no such thing as a safe level, just a manageable risk. I think it's a risk that we don't need to take. Clearly there are better technologies, as many experts have testified, that would alleviate and get us around many of these problems. And I really don't understand why a fact-finding mission to Europe was undertaken after a detailed plan had come up with. And finally, why blight one of the last beautiful coastlines of Hong Kong with such a plant? Let's come up with a better plan to our waste problem in Hong Kong.
Thank you, Mr. Larigo. The next speaker is Mr. Eric Ubel, please.
Good morning, Mrs. Chairman. Good morning, members. I'm a resident of South Lantau from Pt1, and I'm living in a radius of 5 kilometers away from this plant incinerator. 2012, the EPD proposed already the same incinerator concept to you, and thanks to you, you rejected it. 2 years later now, we have the same problem again. EPD, without any amendments, proposes the same incinerator concept. I wonder if people ever learn to do their homework and to do their job that they are paid for. The homework was not just done on the incinerator properly, the homework is not done on the waste management. If the EPD would have a little bit more long-term vision and would check the problems in details that there are with the waste that is created here in Hong Kong, and they would analyze what is done in other parts of the world, then possibly we would have a solution that would eliminate quite a lot of quantity of the waste produced here in Hong Kong. At the moment, the waste management is just scratching on the surface. There is nothing at all done at the root of the problem. It would be really, really appreciated if this Environment Protection Department would do their job and would protect the environment by teaching the population of Hong Kong how to reduce waste. This is the main intention of an Environmental Protection Department in regard of waste management. You need to teach people what is wrong, what they can do in order to limit their waste. Look around, there are several countries that reduce their waste below 50%. You should be also able to do this. This is a highly advanced society here in Hong Kong. Use technology that is there, use method that other governments implemented. Long time back. In the 70s, countries started to implement recycling. I can't see it here. I'm from Germany. We started in the 70s, or my country started in the 70s. I grew up with recycling. I came here to Hong Kong. I was shocked. And now I'm used to it, throwing it away, not being able to separate properly. What are you doing with the separated stuff? Anyway, that's not the main point here. So false info has been given by government people. The false info was the recycling rate, for instance. This incinerator is a dream concept, doesn't have any emissions, no pollutants, and the wind direction. Bending facts won't bring you further. You should come up with the truth. 30% of the complete incinerator waste will be toxic and will end up in the landfills. I hope that Legislative members will vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you. 咁官員有冇
Government officials, any response to deputations in this session? Chairman, today I'm happy to listen to people's views. Views expressed today are very even. We all understand that on one hand, we know that the final end facilities only have a few more years to go. This is an objective fact we have to face up to. There are a lot of accumulated problems. We should face these issues positively. We should work together to solve these long outstanding issues. In all advanced countries, if you talk about waste reduction and recycling, yes, this should be supported, but final end facilities are indispensable. We have to face the transitional problems, and I think people should work with the government to establish an advanced system that we are proud of. Thank you. Okay, let's break for 10 minutes. Let's come back at 11:13. Please be punctual. Thank you. Deputations.